Study Session 8. Some African Philosophers and Their Educational Ideas. Introduction. In this study session, we shall examine the ideas of some African philosophers on educational theory and practice. We shall also discuss the relevance of their ideas to modern educational system in Nigeria. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Present the relevance of Nkrumah's ideas to educational practice. 2. Discuss the various ways in which Julius Nyerere's ideas have influenced educational practice in Tanzania and some other countries in Africa. Kwame Nkrumah. Nkrumah was born in Ghana in September 1906. He was a student in the London School of Economics and Political Science between 1945 and 1947. His popularity came as a student in the United States of America, where he was faced with the stark realities of the African situation vis-à-vis European colonialism in Africa. According to him, these years represent a crucial development of his philosophical consciences. He was among the students that championed the Pan-African Congress. He, at various times, suffered different sorts of hardships and incarceration in a struggle for the liberation of Africa. He was jailed in 1950 for inciting workers and organizing an illegal strike, and as the brain behind the formation of the Convention's People's Party, referred to by him as the Party for the Masses. He believed that the revolutionary initiative of the people can move mountains. He was a distinguished Prime Minister of independent Ghana, a lawyer, author, architect, and engineer, a seer and leader, thinker and builder. He was also called the strategist of genius in the struggle against classical colonization. He was author of many books where his ideas and ideologies are reflected. They include Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, Class Struggle in Africa, Towards Colonial Freedom, Africa Must Unite, Voice from Conakry, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism and the Struggles Continue. What is philosophical conscientism? According to Nkrumah, ideology characterizes society after a revolution. To him, ideology lends a hand to what follows later. Such ideology to him must be generally positive and organic, and that the statement, explanation, and theoretical defense of such a principle will collectively form a philosophy. Ideology seeks to bring a specific order into the total life of its society. To achieve this, it needs to employ a number of instruments. Such instruments as political, moral, and social theories are used. To Nkrumah, the ideology of a society is total. It embraces the whole life of a people and manifests itself in their class structure, history, literature, art, and religion. Philosophical conscientism is the integration of the three elements which is said influence Africa's political, economic, and social structure. These include the African traditional way of life, the presence of Islamic tradition in Africa, and the infiltration of the Christian tradition and the culture of Western Europe into Africa, using colonialism and neocolonialism as its primary vehicles. With the synthesis of these three strands, coupled with the dialectics, it should be understood that at any particular stage, there would emerge a new thing in the society to cater for the need and aspiration of the people, imbibing that ideology, which is the aftermath of the revolution. According to Nkrumah, since society implies a certain dynamic unity, the needs of all will take the place of the competing ideologies, and so reflect the dynamic unity and the guide to society's continual progress. In philosophical conscientism, there is no existence of classes, just like what obtains in the traditional African society. No sectional interest would be regarded as supreme to the other. The welfare of the people is most important. These are some of the relevance of this philosophy of conscientism to Nigerian educational system. 1. The use and the teaching of indigenous languages. 2. The teaching of theater arts and communal participation in social activities. That is, schools' involvement in community development activities. 3. Teaching of African traditional religion, art and artifacts, etc. Julius Nyerere. Nyerere was a former president of Tanzania and one of the most publicized statesmen in Africa. He was a secondary school teacher for a few years. His moral quality brought him to be a great, proud and committed leader. The opportunity which he had of being the president allowed him to put his ideas into practice. Nyerere was of the opinion that the education system inherited by his country from the colonialists was alien and irrelevant to the values and aspirations of his country. He saw the education system as an instrument by which the society can reinforce its ideals, and so made effort to bring his country back to the traditional values through education. He believes that the development of the people and the nation rests on the policy of self-reliance, which centers on economic and political life. He published some books, among which are Freedom and Unity, Uhuru na Umoja, Freedom and Socialism, Uhuru na Ujamaa. These two books contain his popular Arusha Declaration and the Education for Self-Reliance. His book, Man and Development, extensively discussed the idea of developing man to be self-centered. Nyerere's concept of self-reliance does not mean that a nation would not relate to others or reject any foreign assistance. As it was stated in his Arusha Declaration, Tanzania would not solely depend on foreign or overseas aid to the extent of jeopardizing or changing the course of our economic, political, and social policies, but such aid may be accepted to hasten the economic progress which will act as a stimulant to the national plan. The people must be ready to utilize the available human and natural resources for their own development. Let us look at some of Nyerere's ideas on education. To Nyerere, education must inculcate and reinforce the traditional African socialist values of equality, cooperativeness, and self-reliance. It must prepare the young people to work in the rural areas so as to contribute their quota to agriculture and village development. He advocated that the school organization should resemble that of the society where it is located. In other words, both school and society must resemble each other and exercise certain influence on each other. He recommended 7 to 8 years as entry age to primary school. Also, the curriculum of the primary education should be complete and terminal. The secondary school curriculum should be determined by the needs of the majority who would be going out to work and not by the needs of those of the few who would study further to become doctors, lawyers, etc. The school should combine economic and social functions with its educational task. Decision-making in schools must involve everybody, staff, students, and members outside the school. Aid from government should be minimal. The school should be able to sustain itself. Arrangement of holidays would be determined by the requirement of the crops under cultivation to make available people that will take care of the crops. Nyerere made case for periodic assessment report of students on productive work rather than the high priority accorded written examination as the sole test of individual ability. Most of the educational ideas presented by Nyerere are currently practiced in Tanzania and some other African countries. Study session summary. In this study session, we explore the ideas of some African philosophers, Julius Nyerere and John Nkrumah. We particularly examine the philosophical underpinnings of their ideas to contemporary education in Africa. End of study session 8. Thank you for listening.